اخوي جد سليم الموضوع اخوي
السلام عليكم. كيف الحال؟ اخباركم طيبين؟ تفضل.
This is a statement by the Council of Arab Ambassadors in Japan. In response to the Israeli brutal invasion of the occupied Gaza Strip, the Council of the Arab Ambassadors in Japan issues the following statement. In the wake of the brutal aggression on Gaza, the Council of Arab Ambassadors calls on Japan and the international community to act for an immediate ceasefire by Israel in its invasion on Gaza. Over 2 million Palestinians face a daily struggle for survival. And to the date, the death toll over the few weeks has exceeded 9,000 Palestinians. Among them, more than 3,800 children and 2,400 women, including 36 journalists and 70 staff members of international organizations. This brutal killings of innocent Palestinian civilians cannot and should never be justified as self-defense. There can be no justification for Israel's indiscriminate attacks against Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Japan, with its unique position in the international community, especially in the light of its presidency of the G7 and its non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council during 2023, is called upon to use its leverage in urgently calling for ceasefire in Gaza, to facilitating delivery of human aid and assistance, and to stop the forced displacement of the population transfer of Palestinians in Gaza. The Council demands that Israel immediately and fully comply with the international law, including international humanitarian law and international humanitarian rights conventions. This includes a particular focus on protection of civilians, humanitarian personnel, and humanitarian facilities. Furthermore, the Council urges the international community to enable and facilitate humanitarian access for essential supplies and services to reach all civilians in need in the Gaza Strip. The Council also stresses on the immediate, continuous, sufficient, and unhindered provision of essential goods and services to civilians through the Gaza Strip, such as water, food, medical supplies, fuel, and electricity. International humanitarian law necessitates that civilians are not deprived of objects of indispensable to their survival. The Council calls for immediate, full, sustained, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency UNRWA for Palestinian refugees in the Near East and other United Nations humanitarian agencies. Their implementing partners, the International Committee of Red Cross, and all other humanitarian organizations upholding humanitarian principles. We encourage the establishment of a humanitarian corridor and other initiatives to facilitate delivery of human aid to civilians and welcome efforts in this regard. The Council urgently calls for the rescinding of the order by Israel, the military occupying power, for Palestinian civilians and United Nations staff, as well as humanitarian and medical workers, to evacuate all areas in Gaza north of the Wadi Gaza to relocate in southern Gaza. We emphasize that civilians are protected under international humanitarian law and should receive humanitarian assistance wherever they are. We reiterate the need to take appropriate steps to ensure the safety and well-being of civilians. especially children, and their protection, as well as allowing them a safe movement. The Council firmly rejects any attempts at the forced transfer of Palestinian civilian population. The Council calls for the respect and protection consistent with international humanitarian law and all civilian and humanitarian facilities, including hospitals and other medical facilities, as well as their means of transport and equipment, schools, places of worship, and United Nations facilities. This includes the safeguarding of all humanitarian and medical personnel and journalists, media professionals, and associate personnel during armed conflict in the region. The Council stresses the particularly grave impact that armed conflict has on women and children, including as refugees, displaced persons, as well on all other civilians who have specific vulnerabilities, including persons with disabilities and other persons. The Council emphasizes the need to urgently establish a mechanism to ensure the protection of the Palestinian citizens population in Gaza, in accordance with international law and relevant United Nations resolutions. The Council further stresses the importance to ensure the protection of the United Nations facilities and all humanitarian installations, and to ensure the independent movement of aid convoys. The Council reaffirms that a just and lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can only be achieved by peaceful means, based on the relevant United Nations and in accordance with international law and on the basis of a two-state solution. The Council of Arab Ambassadors in Japan calls on the international community to heed this urgent plea for the immediate alleviation of the suffering of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, and to take all necessary actions to end this current crisis and work towards a sustainable peace in the region. Thank you. Death toll today so far is over 9,491, unfortunately. Yesterday, the camp of Jabalia, where refugees who are protected by international law, was bombed more than twice. And the bombs that came down on, that means every person that lived in that camp got 10 kilograms of TNT. Each person got 10 kilograms of TNT. This is not a war. This is a genocide. This is an extermination of Palestinians, especially women and children. This is done by the devil's advocates. This has to stop now. Killing women and children cannot be accepted under any law. This is a revenge, a genocide. This has to stop immediately.
Hi, I'm Kana from Nikkei. I have one question about G7 meeting scheduled next week. I think there's going to be a meeting for foreign ministers in Japan, and the position towards this crisis differs from country to country. And what kind of opinions do you expect from them, and what kind of role do you expect from Japan as a leader?
Well, as we said before, that since Japan is the president of the G7, is called upon to leverage and urgently call for a ceasefire in Gaza, to facilitate delivery of humanitarian aid and assistance, and to stop the forced displacement, population transfer of Palestinians in Gaza.
Thank you.
My name is John. I'm a freelance journalist. And what do you want to demand to Iran for stopping the war and genocide?
We don't demand from Iran. We demand from all the international community, all members of the United Nations, to take a decision to stop the war now. not tomorrow, not after a week. It is their responsibility to stop this war, to stop this carnage, to stop this genocide. And I'm very surprised that still the Security Council could not take a decision to stop the war. I think it's time that all of them take responsibility to stop this genocide.
Thank you very much. Shukran.
My name is Kantaro. I'm freelance too. If Israel continues this aggressions, a lot of the Palestinians may seek the refugees, may seek the asylums to other countries. So is this press conference is can you say that this is actually the sign that all of the Council of the Arab ambassadors are ready to accept the refugee from Palestine?
No. Palestinians will never leave their homeland. Even if they're forced, we will not leave our homeland. We did being enforced in 1948, in 1967, but in 2023, we will not leave our land. It is our right to stay in our land. So it's a clear message to Israel and its allies. Palestinians will not be refugees again. Actually, more than 70% of the population in Gaza are refugees from 1948 and 1967. Palestinians have already said in Gaza they will not leave, even if the buildings fall on their heads. It's their land, it's their right to stay, it's their roots. Nobody can force us to leave our land. Nobody.
Okay.
You're welcome. That's it. I thank the press and I thank my colleagues, the Arab ambassadors here, for this solidarity, standing up for Palestinian, for Palestine. As usual, all Arab countries support a two-state solution, support to stop the war, and are against this war and against the forced population, to force the population out of Gaza. We will not accept it. They will not accept it. And on the contrary, we call on all Palestinians outside to come back to Gaza. This is their homeland. West Bank is our homeland. East Jerusalem is our homeland. It's by the United Nations resolutions. 1967 borders with East Jerusalem is the state of Palestine. And we will not allow anyone, not even any powers in this world, to force us out of our land, force us out of our homes at all. We will stay there and we will stand up for our rights and for our freedom and for our state. Thank you.
I have a question, one more, can I? Would you provide military aid or if further genocide were to continue other Arabic countries?
See, many Arab countries have made agreements with Israel because the Arab countries are a peaceful countries. They thought that signing with Israel will bring peace. But unfortunately, Israel doesn't want peace. It has shown the world not only it doesn't want peace, it wants revenge, it's committing suicide, genocide, it's committing extermination of the Palestinians. We don't call on anyone to send their army because we want to stop the war. The thing is, we call on Israel allies to stop sending them bombs, to stop bombing Gaza, because the amount of the bombing that has been on Gaza for the past 25 odd days is more than the atomic bomb that fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Where is the humanity of the people? Where is the conscience of the people? If the leaders don't have these conscience, I think the people should stand up. They represent the governments. It's enough. And it's enough for the media, the devil advocates, especially the Western media, just to show what's on the other side, but has not shown the truth in Gaza. Tomorrow when the war is over, I invite all the people, every press, every media to come in Gaza and look and see, and then you be the judge. What's happening is a war crime. The devil advocates are murdering our children, are murdering our women. Enough is enough. Unfortunately, I see that the world is blind, is still blind. How many Palestinians is enough to stop the war? How many? 10,000? 20,000? In Ukraine, when the war started until today, 9,000 people died. In the past 25 days, over 9,000 Palestinians were murdered. Over 35,000 are injured. There is almost 2,000 people still under the rubble. That's not enough. What do they want? Like I said, we will not leave our land. We will stay. We are rooted in Palestine, just like the olive tree. We will never leave. Thank you.